like to call to order the Whitewater Township Trustee meeting for June 19th, 2023. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pope? Here. Mr. Shively?
Here.
And Mr. King? You have a quorum with two?
Yes. Accept the minutes from the May 15th, 2023 regular trustee meeting.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. Voice vote, please.
Mr. Pope?
Yay.
Mr. Shively?
Yay. Acceptance of invoices.
Once again, I'll move to accept.
I'll second it. Voice vote, please.
Mr. Pope?
Yay.
Mr. Shively?
Yay. All right, moving right along. Sheriff? Evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
All right. We're dealing with the reporting period for May 2023. Activity is definitely on the uptick. Not a shock considering the weather's improved vastly. We had 4 break-in and enterings, 12 total thefts, 2 of which were of motor vehicles. We had 2 criminal damagings, 1 aggravated robbery, which was a known suspect, most likely drug-related. Likewise, we had a felonious assault, known suspect. 4 domestic violences, 1 protection order violation, 1 importuning, 1 improper handling of firearms and motor vehicle, 1 weapons under disability, 1 drug possession, 1 possession of drug abuse instruments, which would be your needles, and then 1 possession of drug paraphernalia, which would be your pipes, etc. 7 aided case reports and 7 other non-criminal reports. That brought our total up to 45, 28 of which were closed, 17 of which are still active. We had 31 in April, so obviously the activity's picked up. 24 auto accidents in the township is actually down by 1 from April, and then calls for service were up 426 from 382 in April. So, and I'm sure we'll continue to ascend as we go into summer here as per normal, but nothing too outlandish or unusual that I see. So,
Warm weather brought them out.
yes, it did. the August weather in May and June, yes.
Now, we all have heard about the shooting, the boy grazed by a bullet. Is there anything that you can report on that, or is it...
Basically what I can say, obviously I can't comment on a pending investigation. I don't want to corrupt that in any way, shape, or form, but by all indications, it was an accidental that people were shooting. It was an arced round. Normally a round like that wouldn't be able to travel that distance from where they believe it was shot. So it was errant, and basically it came through the air and struck the young man in his leg. So by all indications, accidental, arc shot, no intention that people were shooting. So short of that, there's not much more I can add, but it was nothing that was malicious in any fashion. They're not treating it necessarily as an intentional act, if you will.
Do you know at this time if the people who were target practicing or whatever broke any laws? Or
to my knowledge, no. Obviously, you're responsible. When you shoot, you're responsible for where that round ends up. Obviously, there's some negligence potentially. So could it constitute a criminal elements? Yes, it could. But I don't know where they're at in that regard so far as identifying people and figuring out who may have fired it and what the intention was. But like I said, by all indications, there was no intentions that I saw. So, but getting back to your question is that, particularly with townships, and I'm sure you gentlemen are aware of this, that you can't regulate, you know, so far as discharge firearms, things like that. That basically it takes villages or cities, they can regulate those things, that basically we fall under the auspices of the state of Ohio. So at the end of the day, unless something is just totally out of bounds dangerous that ultimately, something bad has to happen in order for somebody to get prosecuted, if that makes sense. It sounds terrible, but that's kind of the truth of the matter. Like in this case, technically, they could be negligent, criminally liable, obviously civilly liable, potentially. So, but it's a little different with the townships. But like I said, this was an unusual circumstance because normally a round of this caliber would not be able to travel that far. If it were shot normally, it would not have. So kind of a perfect storm, if you will, in that regards. Thankfully, the injury was not worse. That's the main thing.
All right, that's all I have.
I don't have anything else.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
sir. Be
Thank you,
safe.
Sergeant.
I appreciate it.
Moving on to public presentation. Cindy? Good evening.
Hello, thank you for having me today, or tonight. I will be brief. We have been, here's your State House update, right? We've been working on the budget. We start that a little after February when the governor sends it over to us. We have been working for just about 6 months now, and we did the transportation budget, which passed tremendously. We had a lot of great projects in there, and of course, now the operating budget. So the Senate, it moved out of the House, and then the Senate made their changes, which I understand they made a lot of changes. So people ask, what are you going to do over your long weekend? Well, I'm reading the omnibus from the Senate that they voted out and sent it over to us. So it's hundreds and hundreds of pages in each category. So I serve on the Finance Committee of Public Safety, so I focused on that section. That's what I did over the weekend. I joke that now I need bifocals because of it, so anyway, there's that. So in the actual budget, the House version I can speak to. So now what happens next is that Senate voted their budget out, it's in the House, we pour over it, now, this week, next week, and then we go to conference committee and then talk about and hash out all of our differences to come to an agreement. We have to have the budget balanced and on time to the governor's desk by July 1st. So the next couple of weeks, that's what I will be doing. Couple things of note for townships. We provided $50 million in funding for local projects for your facility upgrades. So hopefully that will continue to stay in there. You could apply for grants, again, to support you for upgrades to your township facilities. And then, of course, the $5 million that you received for the sewer project on 128, which is pretty exciting to contribute to that also. We're working on, of course, cutting taxes. And then my one big amendment that I had last year was to fund 50% of our law enforcement CPT training, your continuing police training that they take every year, 24 hours is mandated by the state. Things like 4th, 5th, 6th Amendment, subject control, de-escalation, all of that. We also amended it this year that the state would pay 100% of that continuing education up to 40 hours. So a big department like Hamilton County, obviously that's millions of dollars of training their men and women. Again, my goal with this amendment was I want all of our officers trained top-notch like we are here in this county. So that was the answer to that. So that's exciting. It's still in the budget, so that's a good thing. I serve on Finance, Commerce and Labor, Homeland Security, and I chair the Criminal Justice Committee. A couple of bills in front of my committee. House Bill 110 deals with catalytic converter theft. I know it affects all of us in every single jurisdiction across the state. Again, more reporting, and we're increasing the penalties and all of that because obviously we know a lot of them are stolen. House Bill 56 deals with hooning, which I didn't really know what hooning was until they defined it in committee. And I guess what they're doing now is folks are shutting down major intersections busy intersections in different jurisdictions, and they're just civilians shutting down intersections, and then they have souped up cars and they do burnouts and everything else. I mean, you should see the videos. They're hanging out of the cars. I'm surprised somebody doesn't, quite frankly, run someone else over during this. So again, ramping up the penalty for that. And then when you flee law enforcement, so you run from the police, we're ramping that up to a felony in the 4th degree. So that's in my committee. And then House Bill 91, which I can't believe this is not current law, prohibits installing any type of tracking device without someone's consent. So whether that's an app or a physical tracking device. Commerce and Labor, I also serve there. House Bill 86 increases the gallons that our local distilleries can produce. So we had a couple local distilleries here in Hamilton County come out and say, you know, look, we would like to produce more, but by law we can't. So, and then Brain Brew out of Newtown came to committee, and they said, did you know that the whole entire like bourbon trail and all of that, the first barrel made bourbon happened here in Cincinnati and not in Kentucky like they like to take credit for. So I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, so that is the little State House update. And then of course you hear about issue 1 that we're voting in August. And I just want to clear up some what is and is not true about why we're voting in August. In a nutshell, is it hard to amend the U.S. Constitution? Yes. Should it be equally as hard to amend the Ohio Constitution? My answer is yes. And, you know, to kind of break it down, the Constitution obviously is a document. The ORC that we lawmakers, the Ohio Revised Code, can change. You send me to Columbus with ideas to change the law. I am arguing, and I think that you guys would agree with me, there are topics that should be in the ORC and not in the Constitution. Things like $15 minimum wage that's mandatory. Things like getting rid of our qualified immunity for our first responders. You won't have a first responder if we do that. Things like legalizing all drugs. All of these things have happened in other states that do not have the General Assembly makeup that we do, which is very conservative in Ohio. So all of these topics that I just mentioned will never fly in the current General Assembly as it's made up. So I already voted for this to raise the constitutional threshold to 60% last General Assembly. I voted for it again this time, and I'm going to vote yes in August. Now, one question I'm getting is, well, what if we, the General Assembly, do something that you don't like as the voters? If we pass a law that the governor signs, you still have the power under referendum to get all your signatures, get that on the ballot, to overturn a law that we make. And that's 50% plus 1. So that's all still protected with that threshold. But it's the Constitution that is, quite frankly, the superior document. It should be treated so. So my main reason to coming, of course, is to touch bases. And as you all know, how to get a hold of me and reach out, which you all do, every time there's something that affects you at the state level. But I'm happy to take questions.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to thank you on your accessibility. Every time I've contacted you for anything, within 24 hours, I get a very detailed answer, you know, and I really appreciate that. So I don't know how everybody else feels when, you know, on your responses, but I'm thankful it's quick.
Thank you.
Precise.
I was going to say, my goal is 24 hours. I can't guarantee when I'm in Columbus, like the next 2 weeks is budget. So if it's from Tuesday to Thursday, it might be 48, but I'll get back to you.
I was
right.
honestly expecting something from you today going, can't make it because of the budget. But
Right.
So we
Well,
appreciate you coming.
it's all I'm doing is just reading through, you know, all the different amendments. So yeah, trying to have a report for the speaker and the finance chair tomorrow. So
Well, thank you very much for everything you do for us.
Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. These on the public comment or doing now?
They should be under public
Yes,
comment.
okay. Moving on to the township reports. Start out with the fire department. Evening, chief.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Our run totals for the month of May 2023, we had 94 EMS details with 104 patients. 60 of those were transported. 35 fire details for a total of 129 runs for the month of May. And that brings our yearly run total to an estimated 592 details, which is putting us a little ahead of pace of last year. So I will skip through this middle section unless you have any questions about any of that. As So our staffing for the month of May, we had no station closures. We did have 3 shifts where we did not, 3 12-hour shifts where we did not have a township paramedic on. However, we are still working in conjunction with WestJAD for the supplemental paramedic coverage. So I'm waiting for pre-employment medical exam results for 1 part-time applicant. Provided they are good to go, we will get started with orientation as soon as I receive those. The interviews to fill the vacant full-time firefighter paramedic positions have been conducted, and recommendations for hire were sent over to the board for review. Did you have any questions or regarding those recommendations?
I do not.
I do not.
No, okay. So with that, we would like to recommend at this time the following applicants be approved for hire pending the result of a psychological evaluation and a pre-employment medical exam, which is the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Board medical exam. Madison Snyder, she will not need the psychological exam. She was in the last process and she has already completed that, and we're still able to accept that. And then Cody Hagg, he is currently full-time with Springfield Township. We do have to look and see if we have to conduct another medical exam on him. Since he's already in the pension system, we may be able to waive that. But those are our 2 recommendations for filling the full-time vacancies. And one of those vacancies was created because of Bryce Hodap moving on to another full-time position with another department. But we would like to congratulate him on passing his paramedic class. He is going to stay on as a part-time employee. Once he gets settled in at his new job, he'll be putting in some hours as he's able to. So as I've mentioned in the past, over the last few years, our current fire service radios are at the end of their service life and will not be compatible with security upgrades that are being put in place in 2025. A few weeks ago, a Motorola service technician came out to upgrade half of our mobile radios with the hopes of making them compliant with the security upgrades. Unfortunately, he was not able to upgrade any of the radios due to their age. They were all prior to, the firmware was all prior to the date that was able to be upgraded. So as of right now, we have no mobile radios that will be compliant with this security upgrade that's going into effect in 2025. And I was under the assumption it was the end of 2025. Well, it's July 1st, 2025. So currently we have 27 mobile radios that will not be compliant and will not be able to function on the new with the new security upgrades. So I'm looking into whether or not we can reduce that number of radios and by how many, and we're also looking into alternative radio manufacturers for the mobile radios. Since the mobile radios don't leave the vehicles, they don't need to be as rugged as what the Motorola portable radio is, so there could be some cost savings by finding a compatible alternate manufacturer instead of purchasing the Motorola mobile radios as well. So again, we currently have the grant application in to FEMA to replace those radios and portable radios. We just need to keep our fingers crossed a little harder that grant is approved this year. So, and I found out too, the reason for this upgrade is it's a Marks radio system upgrade. It's a security upgrade to put 2-layer authentication in the radios, because somebody in the state of Ohio, they're thinking it was a ham radio operator, got a hold of a public safety radio and was able to hack into one of the public service radio systems. So effectively they had a functional operating public safety service radio on the police side. So Marks, who operates the radio system that we operate on, came up with this 2-layer authentication that has to be installed in all these radios. So we can thank them for another unfunded mandate. So That is all I have, unless there's any questions.
I do not have any questions.
I don't have anything at the time.
Okay.
Hopefully the grant stuff comes through.
Okay.
If not,
We're buying a bunch of radios.
what are you gonna
I'll
do?
just note that the board approved 8 radios last meeting for $42,000, and since Ms. Abrams stayed, maybe you can,
Sure.
yeah,
Marks is in this budget, so it just hasn't been, so the Marks, there's going to be a grant program. I have no idea as far as timing, but did you also apply to the state fire marshal? You might want to go there too, because I know they have a lot of grants there. But the Marks radio and all that, we understand it's a huge cost to you guys, and we want to make sure that we, again, help fund that. So, that's right.
and
Great.
Thank you.
any help you can do, we'd really appreciate it.
Chief, send me an email and a request and all that, and that what you've already purchased, and send it over to the Rep 29 at ohiohouse.gov. Yeah. And then just send it up, what you request, and I'll pass it on. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for the chief?
I do not.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, moving on to the maintenance department. Josh is not here. I'll read it for him. Peggy and I are continuing to work on the community development block grant for the third round of funding due to this year. The bid packet has been completed and put together for pickup or email. Bidding information has been posted in the Herald and Harrison Press. All bids must be returned to 6101 Dry Fork Road, Cleves, Ohio 45002 by 12 p.m. on June 30th. Opening will follow at 12:30 p.m. This round will be used to repave the parking area, stripes, and replace the black top curbs at the senior center. I would also like to ask the board to set up a special meeting to accept the lowest and best bid shortly after reviewing the bid packet. Fall cleanup, after meeting with Gage Bradford from Hamilton County Resources, we have decided that the fall hazardous waste cleanup will be held on October the 7th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I have attached a list of the items to your packet with a list of items that we will accept and will not be accepting. We are allowing information on our training, and there is need for volunteers to work that day. If interested, please let us know. Also, continuing to maintain everyday maintenance in the township. As far as that special meeting, I mean, is that something we need to do now?
I think it'd be very difficult to do without
Yeah.
Doug here also. I think we could
Is that something we
we could do that
we
through
can do that?
Peggy.
Peggy can get some dates from you guys. Just remember,
We have
minimum 2 days.
We've got
So
July
we've got
4th holiday there.
Yeah, so, if we could know before that holiday. Deadline for the Harrison Press is probably going to be moved up to the 27th of June, so if we knew by the end of this week,
Okay.
that would be helpful,
What's the reason for the rush?
just so we can get the bid accepted, because you're not going to meet again until the 17th of July, so,
2 weeks later.
yeah, well, 3, actually. Well, 2, yeah.
Well, that's something we can
Okay.
handle.
Yeah, you guys can just,
Set it up later.
yeah, let Peggy know what your availability is, and we can pick one. That can
Okay.
be any time. It can be morning, evening,
Whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
July 4th at noon.
And I will mention, while we're talking about special meetings, it's not on our agenda, but I will be asking you later on during new business to set a public hearing for the tax budget before the next meeting. So I need at least 2 of you to be here for the next meeting.
All right.
Can we do that at the special meeting for the parking lot, have it dual purpose?
No, we have to do I won't have the tax budget done, hopefully, but depends on the date you pick.
Okay.
Tax budget is,
We can do that right before the next
yeah,
meeting.
we usually do it 15 minutes before.
15 minutes before,
a
okay.
Regular meeting.
All right.
The tax
No
budget
problem.
takes some time, and it's somewhat antiquated requirements, but it's still required, so.
Okay.
And we can just accept that October 7th for the fall cleanup. We don't have to-
Yeah, you don't have to do anything with that.
So we've, yeah.
Anything else?
I do not.
All right. Moving on to the community center. Attendance from 5/8 of 2023 to 6/9 of 2023. Euchre during the weekdays was 104. Euchre on Friday nights was 204. Chair volleyball was 88. Bluegrass was 185. Country music was 35 for a total of 616. Rentals for June, we got 6 shelters and 1 center. For July, there's 4 shelters and 2 centers. Just remember, for programs available at the senior center, cherry volleyball, euchre, bluegrass, and country music, call 513-367-6046 for more information. And as always, we are always looking for new ideas for programs for the center. If anybody has any thoughts, please contact Carolyn at 513-367-6046. Anybody have anything on the community center?
I have nothing else.
Nothing? Moving on to the committee reports. Whitewater Township Regional Water and Sewer.
As Ms. Abrams mentioned earlier when she was speaking, the 4th round of the Ohio Builds Water Infrastructure Grant Program has been announced by Governor DeWine, and I'd like to thank Cindy and also Bill Blessing for keeping us in the minds of the governor up there. The last round of grants, I don't think Hamilton County received any projects, so I'm glad to see some money could come back locally. But Hamilton County, the Whitewater Township Regional Sewer and Water District will receive a $5 million grant for a wastewater collection system expansion project near I-74 and State Route 128 interchange. The project will expand more than 10,000 linear feet of main sewer line and 6,000 linear feet of gravity sewers and construct a pump station. This $5 million will fund Phase 2. So the county commissioners gave us $5 million out of the Recovery Act money for Phase 1. Part of the contingency on getting that money was getting funding for Phase 2. They technically will have to approve the funding, but they were thinking it might be a low-interest loan, so I think they'll have no problem approving a grant with no payback requirement. So our thanks to everyone at the state who worked on our behalf, and it's going to be exciting to see that project
Amazing.
going. We're in the process of getting easements right now for Phase 1, and I see no reason why they can't just move right on and do Phase 2 now.
It's good to hear it moving forward.
Yeah,
Instead of always stopping.
yeah.
We think it's going and then it doesn't. Anything else on that?
Oh, meetings next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock here at the community center.
Economic development, that's the same.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I don't know if I read that far, but in the narrative on the grant, it said the expanded sewer system will support future economic development of residential, commercial, and institutional facilities at the previous unserved site. So, in addition to eliminating some underperforming packaged wastewater plants that the Ohio EPA has wanted to see gone for some time, it's going to be a good project all the way around from public health to economic development.
It's awesome. Hopefully it keeps going. Moving on to We Thrive.
We Thrive has nothing to report other than what we had in Josh's report on the fall cleanup.
Awesome. Solid waste, I don't have anything on solid waste. Nothing's changed. Nothing new. West Chad?
Continuing as normal, no changes, nothing to report.
All right. There's nothing more on that. We'll move on to old business. Okay. On the full-time fire department, we're going to discuss that in executive session, right?
Yes, I believe.
Yeah, we had a few things to talk on that, so. And then the other thing under old business is the resolution 2023-11. It's a resolution to approve the update of the solid waste management plan of the Hamilton County Solid Waste Management District. Whereas pursuant of the previous of Chapter 3734 Ohio Reservation Revised Code, the Hamilton County Solid Waste Policy Committee has adopted to update the Hamilton County Solid Waste Plan for the Hamilton County Solid Waste Management District. And whereas pursuant to the act, the Board of County Commissioners and the legislative authorities of each municipal corporation or township within the solid waste district must approve or disapprove the plan update by obedience of resolution, and whereas the Whitewater Township Board of Trustees has reviewed the plan update and has determined that the plan update is in the best interest of Whitewater Township and Hamilton County. Now there is for to be ordered by the Whitewater Township Board of Trustees, Hamilton County, Ohio. Section 1, the council board hereby approves the Hamilton County Solid Waste Plan. Section 2, it is hereby certified that all formal actions of the Whitewater Township Board of Trustees related to the adoption of the resolution were taken in an open meeting of the Whitewater Township Board of Trustees, and that all deliberations of the Whitewater Township Board of Trustees were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 Ohio Revised Code. Section 3 is the resolution is hereby declared to be an emergency necessary for the immediate preservation of the public health and welfare of the Whitewater Township Board of Trustees. The reason for the emergency being the need to comply with statutory provisions and to provide with solid waste management policies without delay in order to properly serve Whitewater Township. Section 4 is the clerk is hereby directed to promptly deliver or cause to be delivered a copy of the resolution to the Hamilton County Solid Waste Management District.
With that being said,
All of that.
I make a motion to approve the solid waste resolution.
I'll second it. Voice vote, please.
Give me just a minute, I'm filling it out as we go. Mr. Pope?
Yay.
Mr. Shively?
Yay.
All right, thank you very much.
Do you have anything under new business? Old business. Oh, any more? That we're moving on. There's no more under old business.
I don't have
No.
anything else.
Moving on to new business. Don't have anything under that, do we?
I don't have
No.
anything.
Okay. Then we'll move on to public comments. Justin or George, which one do you want to go first? George is going first. You guys want to race to the mic to see who gets there first? Evening, sir.
Good evening. We've still got problems there on the street. The parking on it, I know township ain't got nothing to do with it, but it's a township property. So some way, the township and the sheriff's department's gonna have to get together and do something about this. There was a car, was there for 5 hours parking in a fire zone. We called the officers about it. First time he didn't show up. We had to call back again. He showed up, and when he came up, he slapped their hand, shook their hand, and he left after they moved the car. Now, something's going to have to be done. I've talked to Sergeant May about it, and he says, he just got back, so he don't know too much about it, but something's going to be done on that there. And the other thing is, I know there's no ordinance there, but they have parties in their backyard, and they got the music so loud you can hear it for 2 blocks. I'm in the house trying to watch the news, you can't even hear it. Now, I don't know what's going to have to be done about it, but something's going to have to be done about it. If we can't do nothing about it here with the township and the sheriff's department, hey, when they're over there doing that there, they're going to wish they never came. This old German has got more noise to make than what they got. The other thing is, the 4th of July is coming. They shoot fireworks in the middle of the street down toward my property. My vehicle is sitting in the driveway, and I've been out there twice already to make sure that the paint's still good on it. And I even told them, if there's any paint damage, I'm coming after it. I have called the sheriff department on it. One time I called him, the next day and everything, when I checked it out, he took a note on it and he says, well, we'll just record it. I don't know if he did or not. The second time is 11 o'clock at night, I seen him walk out the door, out the garage, went around the back and fire a gun off. I called the officers about it. He says, his remark was, you sure it wasn't a firecracker? I said, sir, firecrackers don't have 6 inches of flame coming out of your hand. And he didn't know what to say then. The only thing he told me then is this, if it happens again, give us a call. And like I say, it's bad. And with that, like I say, with that no parking, they block my driveway a lot of times. Right now, they have 7 cars over there. If they have any company, they're going to have to park on the street. So something's going to have to be done one way or the other. I know if they start shooting the fireworks down there again, I'm going to back my trailer out and start cleaning it. And if it's parking on the street, that's tough. I just got to stop it some way. And like I say, I'm getting fed up with it. With the summer coming, it's going to get worse. So now's the time to do something about it.
I don't know. I mean, you passed it on.
Yeah, I know. And I just talked to Sergeant May. They've got a utility trailer over there. No lights on it, no license plates on it. And they lie out of their teeth. They keep saying, well, it's registered in Kentucky. Hey, I've got one. It costs me $60 a year to license that. I mean, if that's all you got to do is take it in another state, that's taking the taxes away from the township and the county. And hey, I can get a friend in Kentucky and do it because, like I said, I'm fed up with it.
Yeah, I know they can't, I mean, I don't know what, there's a fine line there for fireworks, but they can't be lighting them off in the street. I'm sure that's not.
It's not legal. I already checked that out. It's not legal.
I mean, that's
And-
obvious.
And what I like to do is get somebody's phone number here, and when they start all that stuff, give them a call and let them come to my house and sit there for a half hour, 45 minutes, and I'll put some hamburgers or something on the grill and feed them.
Our problem is we can't, I mean, we're not, it's a law thing, right? I mean, I can't stop somebody speeding or somebody's doing.
Oh, no, but-
I mean, if my neighbor is doing something crazy, I can't go over and do nothing to him.
I know you can't, but you'll know what we're going through.
Oh, I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
Trust me. I understand that.
I know.
Doubt that a bit. I mean, I don't doubt that a bit. It's just, it's what we can do, that's the problem. I mean,
Well,
trying to get things done.
Like I say, with the no parking sign, since it's a township property and the sheriff's department, they're going to have to get together and find out what you can do about it. Because
I
they,
don't know. I mean, is there a way they can start writing parking tickets instead of, I mean, no matter what? I mean, if the car's there, just, I mean, you can't, hey, if it's your grandpa that's parked there, I'm sorry, if he's gonna have to start writing tickets, I mean, I don't know.
I explained it, George, and I agree. I mean, there comes a point where warnings are pointless. You know, that generally you come in soft-handed, and then it gets heavier each time to the point where if client's not game, then you start writing tickets. I've never had any problems doing that.
Yeah.
Particularly if somebody's been warned. Put them on
Yeah.
notice, hey, you know the rules now, this is how it is. So I would agree in that regard. So I
Yeah, they
think
definitely
we should
know.
do that.
I mean-
Our deputies doing that. Now, obviously, I'm not out there every moment of the day when they're doing things. I can encourage certain things, but I'm not gonna mandate certain things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I will defer to the officer because usually there are other circumstances also, so I like discretion.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I would have no issue if somebody warrants a ticket, they get a ticket. That's it. Kind of what I learned.
And then on the 4th, if they start as soon as they start shooting them off in the street, you just gotta make the call. Now, I'm sure you probably get 10,000 calls about fireworks on 4th of July, so it might be hard for them to get there. And you gotta catch them doing it, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Here's the deal, it is legal, okay? You can fire it off on certain holidays, weekends prior and after holidays.
Just not in the street.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, Most of these runs are gonna get logged by the comms center. If not, that we wouldn't be doing anything but chasing fireworks all night long. It's totally legal. So there has to be some mitigating circumstance. Somebody's being endangered, you know what I mean, or setting things on fire, whatever the case may be. But yes, I concur. You can't just fire them off in the middle of the street. You can't aim them at people, but they are legal as long as they're done and can't be drunk. Correct. If you want to ignite it. So yeah, so a lot of people are still under the misnomer that they're illegal. They are not, but it's only certain times.
Not in the street, though.
Not the
Yeah.
street. We'll agree on that.
Yeah.
I know that, I've already talked to, like I said,
Okay, we need to stay organized up
Yeah.
here on the microphones for the cameras.
okay, but like I
We'll give you a
said,
minute.
that's what we got here, but something's going to have to be done one way or the other, because when we
Well,
get fed up-
I definitely agree,
when-
as I've agreed to every meeting for the last year. Beyond legal matters, my hands are tied.
Yeah, even my wife went out there.
I mean, it's getting to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife went out there and was looking at my truck, and they asked her, "What are you looking at? What's your problem?" Now, you know, I think there's something wrong with them. Seriously.
Wow. They're getting you guys worked up, and that's what they like. I mean,
Well, like I
I
said,
mean, they're going to do it more and more and more.
well, like I said, if it's daylight, I can make a lot of noise,
Yeah.
and they might not like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Come on up, Justin. I'm always bummed when you guys come in, because it's always,
Well, we got
you guys
problems,
may
too.
think we don't, you guys may think we don't care, but we do all, we do all.
Sometimes we feel like that.
feel bad.
So a lot of issues right now. I wish Josh was here tonight because, first of all, the tires. You guys heard me complain about this in the past. Andrew Miller has tires on his property lying around. He believes he's a mechanic, so he treats his property as an auto garage. That also involves blocking off a road, making it impossible for us to get up the hill. But with all the tires involved, mosquitoes, health problems, health risk. Angela Miller has a pile of tires in her backyard hidden. I know they're there because I do cut the property grass for you guys, which I never complain about. Josh has been aware. I told him many times. I took pictures. Someone needs to go and check on that.
I'll send
Second-
him up again. The last time you were here, he was out of town, so it was 2 days after. But he went, there was 6 tires there, and he can't, it's gotta be 10. It's 9 or 10, has to be.
And then
for it to
Luana
be
Corman,
allowed.
you guys know who Luana is. She spoke with Angie. They are related. She asked her why she has all the tires stacked up in the backyard. She wants to make a snowman out of them during Christmas time. I don't get that, but she's holding for a reason. They're not going to be moving anytime soon.
It doesn't matter. I think it's 9 or 10.
10, I think it
It's
is.
9 or 10.
She has them lying around,
Yeah.
believe me.
I'll
Second
send
of
him
all,
by. He doesn't mind driving by.
the fence posts. You guys remember when Josh put those up for us when they were taking their quads through the township property? They were recently taken down. I got pictures, I got proof. They were thrown on the street. You guys were told that they will not be moved. That is private township property. If they were moved, it's basically you destruction of your guys' property there. They put them back up recently only because they're cutting grass, but they did not put them in the right spots. They still tore them down. I will show you guys pictures. I'll give them all to Josh.
I think, Peggy, doesn't Josh know where the lines are on that township paper street? Why don't we just fence post off both sides of that and identify it and ribbon it off?
I got no problem with that. It butts up to my property as long as it's on the right spot. I got no problem with that. Second of all, so that's what the fence posts. I spoke to Luana tonight. We're having a noise problem on our street. You heard it from George. The music. It's not even good music. I'm not saying because you know the lyrics. They're using the N-word multiple times. I know you guys know what the N-word is, so I'm not going to say it over here. I can hear that through my house. We can't bring people on our streets anymore. We can't bring family. We can't bring friends. I got 2-year-old nephews who are learning how to talk now. I don't think they're supposed to be learning the N-word, you know, every other cuss word involved. I could hear it through my house. I could hear it probably about 500 yards up my hillside from his house. Is there any noise violations in Whitewater Township, or at least in Cleveland? What can we do about the noise? Is there any limit at night when they have to stop?
I don't think there is, I mean, without,
Is there a county ordinance on noise at night?
All the resolutions came my way to townships individually.
So when we hear the N-word being used multiple times through the music, we're just supposed to live with that?
speech. I mean, I don't,
But Luana,
they could come out there and say whatever they want.
they don't even own the property. They're not legally attached to the property.
Still freedom of speech. I could go stand outside the door out here and, I mean,
How would Doug feel if I went down to his property and did that to him?
well, I get it.
I feel like
I
Doug
agree
will have more
100%.
power to do something then. Doug will try to fight harder to get that done.
It's, see, this is not, we live in a world, and it's the best thing that's about the United States, you know, but it also bites you sometimes too. I mean, you can't, if I don't like my neighbor and he's saying something I don't like, I can't just, whether you're a trustee or a governor or mayor or whatever you are, you can't just because if you beat me up in high school and I don't like you and all of a sudden I become a governor, I'm gonna go beat, everything he does, I'm gonna say he can't do it. Everything he does, he just can't, and I'm not saying, I mean, I feel for you and I wish there was something we could do. I'm just trying to think of what we could
Let's
do.
skip the noise then. How about this? Let's talk about last year when he confronted Andy about shooting fireworks on the street, hitting his car. Andrew Miller tried to lure him out on the street to fight him. How about that? When Andrew first moved in, I told you guys about this before. Luana Corman's son, I forgot his name. David. Andrew Miller offered to buy the old car off him. When Andrew was supposed to come pay back the rest, he brought a gun with him after David complained that he did not get all the money. He has shotguns off in the past. Like Bush said, he reported gunshots. Now, aren't the deputies supposed to come every time we get a call for gun reports? Aren't they supposed to show on up?
I would say so.
Yes.
Based on the nature of the gun report.
Andrew Miller is a felon. He is not legally allowed to own guns. Anybody on that property, they can't have guns there, is also a felon. Is there any way we can figure out if Andrew Miller cannot own guns?
We would have to have contact with them if they want to.
Okay? But you guys have been called out in the past too. This is nothing against you, you know that.
Right. No, I'm down with it.
Everybody I talk to, they all say, how does he own a gun? He's a felon. He has been called out twice. He's been called out many times for shooting guns off in the middle of the night when he first moved in. I shot guns off in my backyard one time. Guess what? I had 2 deputies show up with their guns ready just in case. They were fine about it, but I think they even asked for my ID too. Why aren't they asking for Andrew's ID?
You gotta call it in, it's out of our hands, I mean, that's all.
I know, but and just like I said, maybe it's something against you, but when they do come, we don't think they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. For instance, when Bush brought up the whole parking situation, they were parked there for 6 hours a week ago. I was the one who called. 3 hours went by, I called. I said they're parked here. They made it hard for me to get in my driveway. I called up to the main dispatcher for sheriffs. They said someone would be out there. I called an hour and a half later. They never showed up. First thing she said was, I thought they came out there. I'm like, no. She's like, they marked it complete. They never came. They finally came out. I spoke to May about that a week later, and he said sometimes things get caught up, they're busy, they'll come back for it later, even if they mark complete. I don't think they'll ever show up. First thing they do when they get there, give them a handshake, ask them to move nicely. And like May said, like Butch said, one warning's fine, but after many times, and this has been probably so many times that they've been called out, they need to start getting tickets. I know you guys have no power over deputies, but someone needs to tell them to start getting tickets. If I park down in Cleves on a city street and a no parking spot, guess what? I'll get a ticket for sure. How's that fair for me?
Could be, I don't know, I agree, I mean,
Luana's not happy about this. She was
I
supposed to be
totally
bringing-
agree with everything you're saying. The problem is, our legal bounds, our abilities and everything ends with asking the sheriff to do everything they
And I
can
know
do.
that, and-
Our hands are tied.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the same thing I've said month after month.
I know that.
We're doing all we can do, and if you have more issues than that, you need to take a civil course, or a civil action.
How do we go with the nuisance law on this one? We have drugs going on. A month ago, we had police in riot gear dragging people out of Angie Hess' house. May, can you confirm that? That there was a raid? George Guest saw it. We've had multiple times where the police had people on the street in handcuffs at Andrew Miller's house, at Angie's house. This is turning into the same property like over near the drive-thru on 128. We're gonna be like that next. You guys are finally fixing that. Why can't you fix our problem?
they actually clean that up themselves right now.
But we're having
Yeah,
squatters. We got more squatters on our hill now than we do actual residents.
I agree with you, there's only so much, I mean, we can't.
Then how do I move forward with the nuisance law? How can I make a lawsuit for that? How do I make a claim? How do I take that, go further on? Lana told me that there was a way, you guys always said, we got to turn this into a nuisance, sue them for a nuisance.
There has to be, it's very clear.
You talking about for garbage?
Everything. They're threatening us. They're using guns to threaten us. They're using garbage lying around. Health
Those are
problems.
not a township nuisance. Those are a police matter. That has to be handled through 911, not us.
It's a county. I don't know, there's nothing we can do. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't.
The nuisance he's talking about is the appearance.
No, he was just talking about the guns and stuff.
Everything.
Yeah.
That's not the township nuisance.
But Lana told me there is a way we could get,
The law should know that.
yeah.
It's appearance. Or vehicles. Those are two different nuisances that the board can declare a nuisance.
Yeah.
But it has to go through several months of steps to turn the light.
The last nuisance we did took 2 years.
Yeah. We've been complaining about this for 2 years, so.
Yeah, but I've sent them down. I mean, Brian's been down there several times, and they don't have enough. Brian always said they don't have enough there to get him as a
Who's
nuisance
Brian?
law. Brian is Hamilton County. He handles all the dumping and tire and that's all he does for the whole county. And he's been down there every time you've told me when there's tires, he goes straight there.
But it always comes back.
Huh?
It always comes back.
What do you mean it always comes back?
They always get more tires, you know. They're
Well,
always
I'm
doing
just saying,
illegal
you gotta catch
brings.
them there. We can't go off of, we can't, that's just, I mean.
We got
you don't-
pictures.
You don't wanna make it to where if I call the police and say, hey, you know, I seen him with a gun and he shot it at the neighbor. They're not gonna come arrest you off of what I say.
Yeah.
They have to catch him, and every time you've sent me something, he drives up there, but he said there's not enough stuff there. And that's all Brian does, is dumping and that kind of stuff. And every time you've told me, he drives by and he said, God, there's not enough here for me to do anything. There's not enough here for me to go after them for a mess in their yard.
But it's a whole street. It should add up to the whole street.
Well, he breaks it down, and he does it throughout the whole county. I mean, this is what he does. I mean, and he drives by, and it's not there. I mean, I don't, you know, once again, I feel for you. 2 years ago, I'm sitting in my house, and I had 3 fellas come try to burglarize my house while I'm sitting in it.
Yeah?
Caught them. They're trying to get in the doorknob. They were juveniles. They came out. They got their names. But there's nothing. They said, "God, what do you want us to do?" I mean, what do you want us to do? I said, "Well, there's nothing you can do." I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, they came out. They took their names.
When
I
have
mean,
you
it
guys?
is what it is, and it's
when have you
aggravating.
guys
I
been
mean,
on our hill to see the problems? Have you been up recently? Have you been up recently?
I'd love to see. I would have loved to see him throw them on the ground and handcuff them and haul them.
I didn't get to see that either. I'm real disappointed at that. But
No, I'm just saying, for me, I mean, my kids were in the house, my wife was in the house, I'm in my house. They're trying to burglarize my house while I'm in it. I mean, but there's, the way the laws are drawn up and the way the things are, I
well,
mean.
we feel like the
at some-
deputies aren't even doing their jobs.
No, they came out and did their job, they wrote the reports, they were juveniles, and they
I'm
never
talking
got
about on
in
our
the
street.
door. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the laws are written, and there's things you can't just, you just can't go after. I mean, I know you've got a problem with them, and I wish that's how.
This
things
ain't
work.
a noise problem. This isn't, I just don't like this guy because he's a felon. He has used guns to threaten people. He
They
has
have to
threatened,
catch him with the gun, though. They have to catch him with the gun. They can't go off of your word.
they have caught him before and they haven't
They
done
can
nothing.
go
They
off
caught
your
him
word
out
in
there,
a civil
Wait
court.
a minute, he was out in the street with a gun. They pulled up and they got him and they took his license and he's a felon and they left.
But they have came out in the past where guns went off on his property.
But they got to catch him actually with the gun. They got to see the gun. They shoot the gun. You call the cops. They go put it away because they know you're calling the cops, and they do it to screw with you. They have to catch him with the gun. That's how it works.
It's going to come to a point where me or somebody else is going to take care of herself. You know, right?
Well, I mean, I'm not telling you to do that, but I mean,
You don't have a
laws
choice.
are laws. I mean, these are laws are laws. I mean, and I don't drink, period. But he can't just call and say, hey, last night, or hey, guy just drove home drunk. He's at his house, he's drunk, I seen him drive home. They're not gonna come give me a DUI. They have to catch me driving.
Yeah.
I don't drink, but I'm just saying, that's how laws are. They have to catch him with a gun in his hand. They have
Yeah.
to catch him with a gun. Or they got to have a reason to go into property, and then they say, hey, okay, if they had a reason to go into property, if there was something that happened and they had a reason to go in there and they find the guns, and he lives there and there's guns and he's not allowed to have guns in his house, then they can get them.
I have given them video proof them shooting off guns on New Year's. They said, bring it over the next day. I did. It said, oh, that's not enough. That was enough proof right there. They said, bring a video of someone shooting off a gun on a property, and they'll look into it.
There's fine lines with video stuff too. I'm just telling you, I don't agree with all the laws, and I feel where you're coming from. But there's only there's so much you can do.
I just feel like if this is anybody else's property, it's your property, Willie's, Doug's,
It is my
I think
property.
something
It happens to me. I just told you they tried to burglarize my house. The lake next door has fishing out there. They play loud music every night, all night long, and they go bullhorns till 1 o'clock in the morning, having fishing contests, and right in my property line. They do it every weekend.
Hey, at least
they
they
do it every weekend and long weekends.
Well,
I have to listen to it.
I'm done here. Steve Bush, you guys pay 10 grand a year. I know it's not a whole lot. You know what? You're paid. It's our tax, our money. You're damn
What?
generous.
Once again, we don't have anything to do with the enforcing the laws, so everybody knows. We don't have anything to do with enforcing the laws. We pass things on and try to help the people out in the township. We do all we can. I don't know how much more you can do, but you have to catch people. You have to catch people. And the same laws that it blows, I feel for you, but the same laws that protect us is also protecting them some in their rights. And it sucks. There's cases that it sucks, but there's nothing you can do about it. You want to go downtown, you can go downtown, and there's millions of things that happen down there that they can't do, and the stuff that goes on down there, it's just the laws. You got to follow the laws, and it's terrible. And if there was something we could do, and it was easy to just striking that and going, we would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. I would do it in a heartbeat for you. You got to know that I would.
I understand. He gets upset a lot of times.
I understand, and I don't blame him for being upset. But I'm just telling you, if there was something I could do personally, myself, right now, for you guys, I would have done it a year ago. I would do it in a heartbeat.
All right, we need to move on.
Yeah, we do. We can only do so much in the law, and I'm sure you're going to do all you can do. I mean, we send them down there, and they drive down there. If it's not a big enough mess that they can go after them, they just can't go after them. It sucks.
As a bright note, the new solid waste plan that you just approved does fund the enforcement officer for the next 5 years. So I know that that Brian Peak, the Sheriff's Department representative, that does that works hand in hand with public health and and trying to keep these things cleaned up. And I think Brian does a great job. And but
Yeah, and just for the record, I've driven up your street at least once a month, just trying to see an issue or see the problems, and I know what they're complaining about, but I don't see anywhere we can. So, all right, I don't have anything.
Anything else? Public comments? Anybody else? I think that exhausted it at all. Any comments from the board?
I do not have any comments from the board at this time.
Anybody else? And we'll move on to, I'll make a motion to go into executive session at 8:01 on June 19th.
To consider the appointment, employment, and compensation of public employees. I will second that motion.
Voice vote, please.
Mr. Pope,
Yay.
Mr. Shively.
Yeah. Make a motion to come out of executive session at 8:42 on June 19th, where we discussed I don't have my sheet. To consider the appointment, employment, and compensation for public employees.
I'll second that motion.
Voice vote.
Mr. Pope,
Yay.
Mr. Shively.
Yay.
Coming out of that meeting, I would like to make a motion that we approve lateral transfer time towards our wages and benefits for incoming full-time employees of the fire department
I'll second that.
for previous service.
Yep. I'll second that. Voice vote.
Give me a minute, I'm not that fast. I have to read this when I get done writing it.
Oh.
When I do the minutes.
Normally, I'm only half that.
All right. Mr. Pope,
Yay.
Mr. Shively.
Yay. Also, with that, on the discussion after that, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve Brandon Newton, Madison Snyder, and Tony Hag. Cody Hag.
For full-time employment?
Full-time employment, yes.
I'll second that.
Voice vote, please.
Mr. Pope,
Yay.
Mr. Shively.
Yay. Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll definitely second that.
Voice vote, please.
Mr. Pope
Yay.
and Mr. Shively.
Yay.